Do you see how I only sweat from one arm?
That's not sweat.
No. Okay, so, this is pumpkin spice latte.
Right.
This is
Did you
the
spill
water.
on your arm?
Yeah, I spilled it somehow on my arm.
I didn't realize pumpkin spice latte was that orange.
I don't even want to think about it. I didn't know the color of it because I keep the cap on.
Is this? This is a Starbs.
Yeah. And I've gotten really into the pumpkin spice this year. I used to be one of those girls who was like, a pumpkin spice latte? I'm not one of those girls.
Right,
but I'd never had one. And now I'm like, it's my feminist agenda.
I'm not a big... Do you do iced or hot?
I do hot. I don't like any ice drink, really.
I'm a big ice person, but my like little hack, if I want a sweet treat from Starbucks, the Starbucks coconut milk, like their coconut milk, is so... delicious.
Is it like a milky or water?
It's like in the same as like an almond milk or like, it's not coconut water, it's coconut milk.
Okay.
But it's like you can order like almond milk or soy milk. It's like one of their alternative milks. But that shit steamed like a big coconut milk latte. It's like a dessert. It's like coconutty and sweet.
I'll try that.
In like the winter, if it's like, because I drink ice most of the year. But like sometimes if I want like a warm treat, the Starbucks coconut milk latte is like next level. You know how I feel about any kind of alternative milk. Like I just don't believe in it. I don't drink it out of spite. I don't like it. I refuse to like join the revolution of soy. I drink them all, but not because I don't like regular milk. Because I like the taste of all of them, and sometimes in a different mood. Like I like the taste of soy milk.
Yeah,
soy milk and like certain cereals taste better with soy milk than regular milk.
Oh no, I could never be that. I could never be you.
Okay.
I got really mad. I had a barista. I went in and I was like, they assume now at this point. It's crazy how the tide has turned on against cow's milk. They assume that you just want almond milk.
Oh, they're never touching. I mean, a Brooklyn barista is touching the real milk like twice a day. It's crazy.
And I say, I want normal milk. And this
they're
woman
like, define
goes,
normal within a parrot. You're like, enough.
She goes, what's normal?
Yeah, I knew she was going to
Bitch, shut the fuck up. I will kill you.
Welcome to Basic Training, a podcast for people that need help.
Welcome. Well, and people that fucking hate, I was going to say baristas, but that's mean.
No, we love
smart ass baristas like that. You know damn well what normal milk means.
Wait, also, can we turn the monitor off? Sorry, I'm so annoying. Thank you. I was like, Talia's begging for me to not.
There's no one in the world who would be a better fit for me than you. Like to host this podcast. Like every day having to sit here and Jake, I'm never the one who says turn the monitor off.
Never, not once.
Because I'm always hoping that Jake will forget to say it. He never does. I know it's what's right for me. It's like when people describe like a truly good marriage. It's like that. Like the compromise and the knowing what the other person needs without them having to articulate.
And I want to say this. I want to say this now at the top of the episode. Speaking of knowing what people need and saying what people need. We say this at the end of the episode all the time, but I want to say it now. At this point, thousands of people listen to this podcast. We know the numbers. We know how many people listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
We do not yet have thousands of reviews on Spotify and Apple, and it is driving me fucking insane. And I just want to make this one pitch. You were so nervous. You thought I was going to say something way more intense. But
I thought you were going to go for the Middle East for a second.
No. This is a comedy podcast. But what I'm going to say is this. There are thousands of people that listen to this podcast every week. And we currently have hundreds of reviews. And I understand, like, it's annoying. I love you all for listening. Thank you. It's annoying for us to ask of you anything else. However, it takes 30 seconds to go review on Apple and Spotify. And if we get thousands of reviews, especially if we get them quickly, it will promote the podcast on those platforms. We will get more listeners. And what does that mean for you? Better calls. The calls are already great, but the larger our listener pool is, the higher statistics we get of getting insane good calls. The hacker call, you know what I mean? Like
incredible.
The more listeners we get, the better calls, and the better the show becomes. Enough.
You would not believe the leap in quality of the calls from like
week one to week
1 to week 4. Like
that's actually
the minute we got like serious actual listeners, the calls got so much better. And now like we do get great calls, but we do 3 a week and that's what we get. So we need
in terms of like calls where we're like really excited. Actually, we don't know that because we don't pick the calls. The producer does. I don't want to make people who are listening and calling in and not getting their calls played feel bad. Because like I do think we get more calls that are playable. Do you know what I'm saying?
You're absolutely right, but I want more to choose from is my point.
I want every episode I want at least one hacker call. I want one like just crazy swing.
I know.
And we need just like so just invest in this show by just going and doing the rate and the review. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok. I know now I've asked for too much. I've asked for 4 things, and that's a lot. But just do it for the love of God, please. Thank you.
Amen.
I was walking here on the way to the train, and I was like, I'm going to do it today. I'm going to go on the rant when I get there.
I love that we had very different, I'm going to do it today, I'm going to go on the rant when I get there thoughts in our head as we got on the train here today.
Okay.
But wait, what was I going to say?
We were talking about baristas and milk and...
Oh, speaking of beverages and public places, let me tell you what I did this weekend. I went to a place in the West Village, and a very gross little cockroach of a man approached me, and he made a very disgusting and explicit comment to me. And he had a face like Brock Turner, and he looked gross. He had like one of those gross Brock Turner faces with like the weird eyes.
Is he like your age?
Yeah, my age. Didn't blink. It was just gross. He was a gross man. So he said, blah, 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 all of this mean stuff. Not mean, but like sexually explicit, disgusting, pickup line-ish
Just
things.
like came up to you in a bar and started saying this?
Yeah. And he goes, oh, can I get a hug? Like looking at me like, can I please get a hug? At the end of his like...
Rant?
Not even a rant. It was just like, look at you, blah, 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 whatever. And so I go, yeah, sure. And I go and I give him a hug, and I poured my entire drink down the back of his shirt. And he goes, what the fuck? What the fuck? And I had to leave the bar. But I want everyone in that vicinity to know, because a lot of people did see me pour the drink down the shirt and finish it off by like taking, I'm proud of this one. There was still some drops left. So I took the little pick with the olives on it, put all 3 olives in my mouth and like pulled it out, and then put the pick back in and threw the whole thing in his face while he was like freaking out about the back. So it was just a double homicide.
You like literally went like that?
I hugged him with one hand and then had the other hand around him and then opened up his shirt and poured the drink in. It was really
And it was
fun.
like a dirty martini?
Filthy martini.
That's disgusting.
And he was so shocked. And people around me were shocked. And I think some of them recognized me from TikTok. And I want those people to know, even though you probably knowing me knew that that was a justified action, even if it wasn't justified, I think a lot of the people around would be like, yeah, good for her. But that's what happened. That is what happened.
Ew, okay.
He said something kind of nasty.
Well, do you want me to open this for you?
Yes, please. Would
Okay.
you? Thank you.
Yeah, of course. That is so rancid.
It's fine. It was very like Samantha Jones moment.
I do love
this
that.
This is it.
You.
I was so happy to do it. It really like brought me some peace.
It's interesting that happened to you this weekend, because last night I was rude to someone to their face, which the thing is I rarely do.
Okay. That's not true, is it? What do you mean rude to someone to their face?
Actually, I was rude to someone's face twice this week. I'm very rarely rude to people to their face.
I don't think you're rude to anybody without justification, but if somebody's being annoying, you have no problem.
One person I was rude to this week, not justified. I was in a bad mood. I walked up to, I did a stand-up show this week. I did a bunch, but there was this one stand-up show I went to go do, and I got there, like, sometimes when you do stand-up shows, especially when you're not doing them at a club, when they're at like a venue that's like not just a comedy club, like it's like a bar or a nightclub, but there's like a theater, like whatever it is. Like sometimes you get there, they'll be like, the stand-up show starts at 8, and then you get there and they're like, the poster says 8, but we're really not starting until 9:15. And you're like, cool. And sometimes that's fine, but they'll tell the comics beforehand. But sometimes the host like doesn't occur to them, like tell the comics when the show actually starts. So anyway, I get there, I realize, I'm like, oh, this show's like probably starting a little bit late. Like they're not even set up yet. And like the crowd is still filtering in. So I don't want to like sit here. I'm going to go get a glass of wine somewhere else and like come back and just be in my own space. I was in I got very sad for one night this week. I think something happened with it getting cold, like officially getting like cold or like chilly in New York, where I got so sad for 12 hours, like so sad. And I had to do stand-up comedy during that 12 hours. And
Are you having some sort of chemical imbalance?
It might have been, I mean, like,
It wasn't even cold. It was like gorgeous out.
It was actually kind of wild because I did listen to my weekly astrology reading after that, and it was like very synced up with that. I was supposed to be feeling sad that night, which was interesting. But I think
that's what needed to happen.
Maybe. I think it was just like, it was like, oh, it's getting cold. Like when New York gets chilly, there's something about, I guess it's like all summer, it's like hot, and I'm like in shorts and a tank top, and you can do whatever you want, and you can run around the city, and like I'm like, I will never die, I will never get sick of this. And then it gets cold, and all of a sudden you're like, what if I was like cozy in bed? And it like is like this pivot that makes me sad.
I love that your take on New York City summers. I will never die, I will never get sick of this.
I literally feel that way every summer.
That should be our merch.
Yeah, I literally love New York summers so much, like so much. Anyway,
when I sweat at all, for like as soon as I like feel the sweat forming on my forehead, I say, I want to die. I am sick of this life. I'm done.
I love it. So I think it's also like, it's like, I like that I'm single, but now that it's getting chilly, I am feeling the like, oh, what if I had someone to like cuddle with thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess like it was like a little bit of that. Anyway, so I was like in a sad mood. I'm walking around the village waiting for this to go back to this show.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to sit and have like a glass of wine and like kind of, and like get my set together or just like chill for a second.
Sure.
So I walk into this one bar and there are 2 seats at the bar that are open and there's nothing in front of them. So I go to grab one and this girl goes, oh, sorry, we actually have 2 people sitting here. And here, there's 2 separate things to this conversation. I turned to her and literally, this is what I did. I went, cool. And I walked away. Which is rude. And I saw her. So funny. I looked back and she looked at her boyfriend and she was like, what the fuck? I was like clearly rude. But here's the thing. I actually fucking hate when people save seats at a bar. I think it's tacky.
I just don't like, I don't like the saving of seats really anywhere. I just don't think if the person's not there, you just can't justify it. It's so stupid.
You can't save seats. You actually can't save seats.
No,
that's my big, you can't save seats anywhere.
Sorry.
I get really pissy about seats. One time, I'm still mad about this, and this happened to me a couple times. You've probably never, because you're from the West Coast.
The way you're articulating this with the shirt that you're wearing, you're like a giant 10-year-old. Like, you can't save seats ever.
This shirt is so picture day.
It's so picture day. Did I ever tell you about the time I wore a shirt that was like kind of this color, like the color of a green screen, genuinely, on picture day, 4th grade. And it was also one of those shirts where I don't know why I did this. No, I do know why I did this. I cut the collar off so that one shoulder hung off.
Oh my God, yes.
Because that's what the hot girls did. And I showed up to picture day and I now... Yeah.
It's just fucked up, yeah.
I was the hot girl in the 4th grade, excuse you. And I genuinely was a floating hat. Like I have a whole a page of pictures in an album of just me against a backdrop, and it's from my collarbone up. That's so the funny. Picture.
That's so funny.
Anyway, go ahead.
What was I even saying?
You were talking about rudeness, and then you were talking about...
Oh, saving seats. Like, I used to have to take the megabus a lot, or like the Peter Pan bus, like whatever it was, to go back to Rhode Island. And before I like, at some point was like, actually... Peter Pan, Go Bus, like all the, there's a Flix bus. I've done all the buses.
I love Flix.
At this point, I've set a boundary with myself. I actually just don't do buses anymore. Like I do love myself enough that I'm paying for the train. Yeah, it's just, I can't be doing it anymore.
Well, I've only taken them in California, but I love the fact there's like a bathroom and it's air conditioned. I love a bus.
Yeah, but a train has those things and it's nicer.
Well, I never had the option when I was taking the bus.
And also like trains don't hit traffic.
Right, of course. So I would always rather a train. Okay,
so anyway, my point is, but like this thing would happen on buses all the time, which is like you get on, the seats are first come, first serve usually. Yeah. And then people would get on and there would always be a family that would get on like last minute, or like a mother and child. And they'd be like, hey, sorry, people need to move so that we can sit together. And
oh my God.
And I'm like, I understand that your child is 2 years old and it's actually not safe for them to sit with a stranger, but you should have gotten here earlier. Like,
no, counterpoint. Especially, this happens a lot on planes and in any closed space like a train or a plane. Maybe not a train that's making a lot of stops, but definitely a plane. It is safe for your kid to sit with a stranger because you're on a fucking plane. That, like, we need to establish that. The kid is not going to go anywhere.
But also, it's just, my whole thing is like, when people are like, hey, like, sorry, we need to sit with our kid. I'm like, did they become a kid in the past 12 hours? Like, there was there was another way to solve this problem other than you getting on the flight. Do you know what I mean? And then and then being like, we're just gonna like make other people move for us. You know what I mean?
I'll always do it, and I'll look down upon people who won't move.
I used to always do it on the bus, and then I started to pretend I was asleep. I was like, the second I sit down, until seats are figured out, and then I wake up.
Are you an aisle guy on a plane?
It depends.
Because I am, because I need to pee all the time, and I refuse to wake up a sleeping person, but I will be asleep the entire flight also.
So I have a really annoying fact about myself, which is that most of the times I've flown on long haul flights internationally, I have been in first class. So because I have a friend who works for an airline. So up until recently, and she recently left the airline. It's actually one of the saddest things that's ever happened to me.
Got a girlfriend, big boy?
Essentially. But I used to be, anytime I would fly to Europe, I would fly first.
Okay, money bags.
For free.
Babe.
Okay. But so I didn't really have to think about aisle or window for that.
Okay.
On a short flight, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like 3 hours, I can figure it out. I guess I would probably prefer... I think I would probably prefer window. I would rather... If on a long flight, I'd rather be able to lean against the wall than...
I'd throw up.
Oh.
I'd rather have the cart hitting me every minute than be against
it. It doesn't bother me. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like this is fun. This is a fun conversation.
Yeah, okay, absolutely.
We're a little drained, guys. I'm just like genuinely tired.
Yes.
But
it's been a hard week.
I'm fine. I'm just like
Should we get calls going?
Yes.
Okay, let's grab the laptop.
Hey guys, huge fan of the pod. I just wanted to call in and get your guys' advice on being more social, being a little bit friendlier in the office, particularly. So I'm 27. I've been at this job for 2 years. I mostly work from home, but you can voluntarily go into the office whenever you want. And I try to go in once a week or so just for like a change of pace. And there's sometimes like a couple people there. Not a lot of people, but there's a few people that I know who go into the office. And they're all cool. Like I get along with everyone, and they're mostly like in my age group. But I just feel like I'm so naturally introverted, and I don't really know how to strike up a conversation with someone. Like just walking up to someone at their desk and being like, how was your weekend? Like, do you see the big game, you know, et cetera, stuff like that. Like, I hate the idea of it, to be honest. Also, my desk is kind of far from everyone. It's not super far away, but I'm not in the main, like, cubicle zone. But I have a window, and I have, like, a nice monitor, so I don't want to give that up, although it definitely doesn't help that I'm, like, physically farther away from everyone. And, yeah, I just feel like in general I'm trying to overcome some of my shyness and social awkwardness, and, you know, whether it's at this job or anywhere else, like, I just feel like I could benefit from being a little more outgoing, going outside my comfort zone. So if you two have any advice about this in general, it would be super helpful. All right. Thanks. Love your work. Bye.
Love your work.
What a sweetie. Do you have anything that jumps out in terms?
You should start. What? What? I'm sorry. Like, you're pulling the weight this episode, and you have to be okay with it.
I'm okay with it. It's just funny.
You're so funny, and it's fine.
Okay. Here's the thing. You already, based on this phone call, I'm like, you're not that awkward.
You're not.
Like, you're literally not. Like, you have, like, we get a lot of calls, and sometimes you can tell on the phone call, like, oh, yeah, this is an awkward duck. Like, this is a strange one.
Yeah.
You seem perfectly functional. Like, the way you spoke was, like, normal and made me feel comfortable.
Also, the way you were, like, down to call into two people that you don't know and just articulate your problems
I totally get. I would say, like, I think that it's just, like, don't be afraid to, like, sometimes the way to bring people in is to open yourself up a little bit. So it's like, instead of talking about something external, like, hey, did you see the big game? Like, the next time that something happens in your life where, like, you're like, oh my God, I saw the craziest thing on the way to work today. Or, like, my weekend sucked. Like, sometimes talking about yourself brings other people in. I think that, like, sometimes what makes people uncomfortable is that someone who's trying to make friends or make connections is looking for, like, that external thing. So they're like, what did you do this weekend? Like, they're, like, prodding.
Right.
And that can feel very interrogative, and it can feel very like the other person's, like, on the spot. It doesn't actually feel interactive. It feels very like you're being kind of like mined. Whereas like if you like conversation is a give and a take. So start by giving. Like if you have a funny story to tell from your weekend, tell it at I think it like work is boring. No matter where you work, it's boring, except for like maybe like in ER. Like work is boring. So it's like
I'd be bored in ER.
It's like come in like I'm like triage, you're like yawning at me.
Sometimes I watch Grey's Anatomy. I'm like, wow, they've been there for like 48 hours now. Like, go home. So boring.
No, but
so gray and blue in there. It's like
so
sterile.
No, but like I think that like anyone would be welcome to you walking up to their desk and be like, can I tell you about this thing that happened this weekend? Like give some gossip. Like gossip brings people together. Like I think that is like a way to connect is like open yourself up a little bit. Be like, obviously you don't want to be the person who's like talking about themselves all the time and not listening. But I think people forget that it's a two-way street and you can start with yourself opening up and that will call people in. And I think that's in general. I mean, I know for me, that was like the thing I learned about myself. I was like, oh, I'm good at telling stories like in a party setting or like at a dinner table. Like I can tell a funny story that like brings the table together and gets people interacting. And that's like a skill set and that can open me up. And then also it's about being a good listener and asking questions and interacting. Right. But I think like funny stories, talking about yourself, giving a little bit of yourself to the group is a way to bring people in.
Amen. I think that if giving away yourself as a sort of offering is hard to do with a vulnerable story, like that feels vulnerable to just come in and say something.
Sure.
Come in with like Krispy Kreme. Like come in with like
that was my other get. Especially if you put it on your desk, that's a way for people to come over. You become like the snack corner.
Exactly. It sounds so cliche and it is, but it's cliche for a reason and it's because it works. Like come on over and just be like, and you don't even have to say I went out and bought this. Literally be like, oh my God, like my mom sent me all these donuts or whatever. Like somebody dropped these off at my place like for a birthday and they were left over from a party I had this weekend. And just go around with donuts or cookies. It sounds stupid, but trust me, like that's how, but you can't just go around and give them and then expect people to talk.
I know many people, I've worked with many people over the years who just like baking. So they'll be like, oh, I just baked these and I don't want them all in my house or on the counter.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like throw it up on the Slack or the Microsoft team. I don't know. I've never worked on it.
But you have to be near the cookies if you're going to say, come go get them.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, don't leave them in the
Don't
like, the
leave them in the lounge.
I think you put up on Slack like, hey, I made lemon bars this weekend and I can't have them all in my house. Like come get them there at my desk. And it's like,
I think you walk around with them and offer them in person. I think if you're trying to get away from your faraway desk, you have to say, you know, I'm going to walk around with a platter.
Call them into you because then they'll come at a time when they have like a minute to get up. You're not interrupting. I think it's also less stressful to like go up and be like, hi, do you want a lemon bar? Like throw it up in like whatever the chat thing is that at the work thing. Be like, these are my desk, come get them. And then you're at the desk and people can come up and be like, hey, what's up?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Valid. Yeah. I think you change my own on that. I don't know. I've never had a real job, but I do assume that like that's how the cubicle thing happens or the offices or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that you should go around. It's like you have the social skills. You're a confident speaker. You can do this. It's hard. The only solution to shyness is like exposure therapy. Get out there.
100%.
But it's a lot easier if you come with an offering. Just go around or have them on your desk. But you cannot have them come over, take the shit, and then walk away. You have to say, how are you? How's your day? And crack a little joke. Say something about their shoes. Where did you get them? Blah, blah, blah. These are like, this is the time to practice your skills. Put your hair in whatever
you bake so they all eat a little piece of you. And then they're all stuck with you inside of you.
Yes. Forever. Oh my God. So
What did this bring up? I'm listening.
The only thing I know how to make is meringue cookies. And I'm really good at them because all I did in quarantine.
The like crispy crunchy ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Or soft ones. I can make it however you want. I am really good at them because in quarantine, it was the only thing I like did. And I also can't do anything too complicated and it only involves
egg whites, right?
Egg whites, yeah. So I'm good at that. And I made them for Yom Kippur and brought them over for the break fast. Was it break fast? Yeah, I brought them over for break fast at my cousin's. And I have a 2-year-old niece. And as I bit into one of the meringues that I brought, the first one that was eaten, I had a giant piece of plastic in it. And it landed in my mouth. I think that when I poured in the sugar into the mixing bowl, a sharp shard that had broken off from the top of the sugar plastic, like the covering.
Oh, like the Domino sugar.
It was like one of those it was a cylinder. It was one of these basically. Yeah. It was a cylinder and it's I'm such a dude. I'm such a 12-year-old boy. You have like the twist top. It looks like a giant salt shaker.
Yeah.
And the top, I guess, was kind of broken off and it was in like a sharp shard shape.
Like it could have been bad.
Could have been really bad. And it fell into the mixing bowl. And it's white, so I didn't see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just started mixing and made the cookies.
Well, God bless you. You are the one that got at that.
Well, we don't know. So at that point, we had not yet calculated what had happened.
I understand.
At this point, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell if it was like a piece of one of my fake nails. I didn't know what it was. God. So I feel the sharpness in my mouth and almost die. Okay. Spit it out and sprint to the baby, the 2-year-old, who just was served a giant fucking cookie. And but I don't want to cause a panic. So I start just looking over her shoulder. I'm like, hey, let me help you. I'm like digging through it with my finger. And my uncle's like, what are you doing? Like, she knows how to eat the cookie. She'll be fine. It's soft enough for her. He's like afraid that I think she's going to choke on it.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm just spending quality time with my niece. Like, F off.
That's so funny.
And I keep watching like her every bite. I'm like, no. Open.
Funny.
It was very like, it was like an episode of Friends. It was just so kooky and like quirky. And I'm just so cute. I'm like a little Monica, like a little chef. I'm human and I make mistakes and it's adorable. Speaking of that, you know what I always think about when I think of Friends?
What?
After I think about how annoying it is, I think about the love interest with the mustache, Monica's boyfriend, who was
Tom
older.
Selleck?
Yes, Tom Selleck.
Wait, do you want to hear a really funny story?
I love that man. And I love that he was friends with her parents. That is so fucking sexy.
Tom Selleck is hot.
So salacious and sexy. Okay, tell me the story.
So I did summer driver's ed instead of taking it as like a high school class. And so you do it for like, it's like several weeks over the summer. You go like 9 to 5 or like whatever it is. Like you go for like hours a day and do driver's ed in like a couple weeks.
Sure.
And then you have to do your driver's hours with the driver's ed teacher. And so it's like you and another student, because there's always like 2 kids in the car. So you're not like a kid alone in a car with a man. And so there's like me and this other kid, like for like a week, had to just like drive around my town in Vermont with this guy. But this guy's wife, like, works for the city. Like she's like the secretary to like the city clerk. Okay. So like she gets all of the like filings for all the permits and like all of the shit in the town. So they just like had gossip on like so you'd be driving around, he'd be like, their basement flooded, they're getting a divorce. Like he just like knew everything. And I was like, you're definitely not supposed to be telling people this. Like this is crazy. But he would just be like constantly telling people this. And then there's this like gorgeous, near the golf course in Rutland, there's this like one really beautiful house that's like up on a hill. Uh-huh. And we were driving by it, and the other kid was driving. I was in the back seat, and I was like, we were passing this house. We're like 15, and I just like kind of casually say, I'm like, oh, I've always really loved that house. And he goes, yeah, you know, and this is all like, I don't know if this is true, but he said this is true. He was like, you know, Michael J. Fox almost bought that house. Like he really wanted to move there, but then he tried to permit the state to allow his security guards to carry semi-automatic weapons, and they wouldn't allow it, so he didn't buy the house.
There's no way that Michael J. Fox needs security guards who are armed, or security guards.
The only reason I could get it is because he does have Parkinson's and is very rich. Like I could see feeling like you're a target for a robbery, I guess.
Fine.
Anyway, the point of the story is not whether or not that's true, but he goes, they wouldn't let his security carry semi-automatic weapons, so he didn't buy the house. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's pretty crazy to need semi-automatic weapons. And then the driver's ed teacher goes, yeah, I mean, who does he think he is? Tom Selleck?
I'm sorry, that was the punchline of this story.
It gets better. I'm not at the punchline.
Okay.
Because I thought that was, again, a very strange thing to say.
Such a weird thing to say.
So I go, oh yeah, because Tom Selleck is so famous. Because it's like, Tom Selleck is famous, but he's not. If he had been like, who do you think he is? Brad Pitt? Like, that's what it should have been.
Right.
So I was like, oh yeah, Tom Selleck. And then the driver's ed teacher turns around and looks at me with like vitriol and is like, Tom Selleck is one of the greatest actors our nation has ever known. My wife and I watch a Tom Selleck movie every Wednesday night. And then he just turned back forward. And I was just in the back seat like,
What?
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable.
Tom Selleck needs a restraining order. I think that guy was like saying he's a stalker and he's the one who would shoot Tom Selleck. I don't know. I would love to watch I would like to make a Tom Selleck movie every Wednesday night.
Oh, God. I wonder what Tom Selleck looks like now.
I don't give a fuck.
Oh, he's on Blue Bloods. He's on that show.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. And he wears a uniform.
Okay, play the next call.
I'm, like, obsessed. And the way that she was mourning him by, like, walking around in his flannels, like, that smelled like her cigars or his, like, smoking his cigars.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too real.
He's so hot in that show.
He's so fucking sexy. It drives me insane. Oh, another thing that we have to do on the show.
What?
The other night, my friend and I were sad and we decided to console each other by describing in like painful, agonizing detail our ideal partner, but like physically, like the details being like so specific and just picking apart from head to toe what you want in a partner physically. And it was so fun and we have to do it.
Okay.
Like I'm describing like my ideal husband's toes. Like it was so over a fucking pastrami sandwich. It was so fun.
Where'd you get pastrami's?
We went to Katz's.
Nice,
and
so
then we did it again with her ideal type at what the fuck was it called? Is it EJ's? It's on the Upper East Side. I don't know. Just like some Jewish place. Yeah, we should play that game. Okay. Next episode, we're gonna do it.
Next call.
You guys wouldn't believe how I feel about like my ideal husband's feet. Okay.
Hi, Talia and Jake. I need help. My best friend of 6 years has been dating this guy for about 2 years. They've lived together for about a year at this point. They're pretty serious, talk about getting married. Problem is, everyone in our friend group hates this guy. He's like Walter from Sleepless in Seattle with all like the pickiness and stuff, but he's also very pretentious. Basically, he's the guy that brings up his study abroad programs whenever possible. So, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, my friend is constantly inviting this guy to things that are clearly just for, like, the girls. For instance, we'll have a girls' night out, and there'll be 4 or 5 of us and this guy. He doesn't have his own friends, so he kind of gloms onto whatever we're doing. And our husbands, they don't like him either, so it's not like we could say, hey, you know, you go out with the guys and, you know, poor guy doesn't have any friends. We'll take the girls, you take the guys. Like, none of our husbands want to take this guy. It's like no one wants to be around him.
The water wrong.
Oh, take your time.
Okay, hit play.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do because no one else in our friend group wants to say anything to our friend. Like, we all have a consensus that we don't like this guy, but nobody wants to actually say anything to her. I mean, we'll make subtle comments over the last couple of years about, hey, it's just for girls this time, or maybe don't invite your boyfriend. But like, it's clearly not sinking in for her. And it's getting to the point where like, we're all kind of tired of having to constantly say just to our only friend. She's the only one. Everyone else knows, don't invite your boyfriend, don't invite your husband to this thing. But we always have to explicitly tell her, otherwise he'll be there, just like in the background of every photo. But the other problem with this is that this guy's not really abusive. I mean, he's harmless. He's not like, he's just like an asshole, but you know, he seems to treat my friend well. She seems relatively happy. I mean, like if I'm being like particular, he is very controlling of her and she's changed a lot about herself for this guy. I mean, she's really hard to reach by text and phone call nowadays. Again, it's not just me that has this problem. Everyone in our friend group agrees, but I feel like the only one who has the guts to say anything. But I feel like if I say something, it's like, oh, well, do you actually have a problem with him? No, I just don't like his personality. I just don't like his vibe. But he's not like a bad guy, I guess. So what do I do? Can I say anything? Should I say anything? It's getting to the point where I feel like I'm being kind of rude around this guy now because when he's around, I'm just like irritated by his presence. I don't want to be like that. Like, I don't want to be like a dick to him. Obviously, I don't want to hurt my friend. Because, like, again, he's harmless. He's just annoying. And so if I plan on being friends with her, like, you know, forever for the foreseeable future, she plans on marrying this guy or at least being with him long-term for the foreseeable future, I feel like something's got to give. But I don't know if I can say anything because it's not like I have the backing of my friends. I have a feeling if I said something, they would all just, like, stare and be like, we don't agree. So anyway, help me. What do I do? Can I even say anything? Or am I stuck suffering in silence with this guy? All right, thanks. Bye.
Hit him with a car. Hit him with a car. Hit him with a car.
It brings up like PTSD for me. Like,
yeah, I'm sort of like, I don't want to like question I want to trust your judgment when you're saying like he's harmless, he's not abusive. But to me, controlling sucks. Controlling, if I see like my friend being controlled by their partner, that's like deeply upsetting to me.
It is. I do think I get what you're saying. I'm going to trust and assume that because none of your friends are as impassioned about this as you, it's probably not going to result in the destruction of your friend as a person. It might result in the destruction of your friendship, but it won't result in her harm. I really don't think so. And so for that reason, I think that you might not have enough backing. But know this, when isolating relationships occur where so few people like being around one of the partners, and it's just like, it's like this, when relationships like this happen and people kind of isolate their friends or start bringing him around everywhere and they get really annoying, they don't tend to last. And even so, the biggest problem I run into with people in my life, my loved ones, is I care so deeply about them and I have so much belief in them and their potential in life, especially my girlfriends, that I tend to get a little controlling and like bossy about their lives.
Okay.
And I have a very hard time holding back when I think that something that they're doing is not conducive to their prosperity, even if they're happy. I'm very much like, I want my friends to be
interesting, friendship
and career oriented. And I really I see so much potential in my friends. And the biggest sort of fight we have from my side of things is that I push too hard when I feel like, no, you're doing the wrong thing for yourself.
Right, because it's the thing, we've talked about this before, it's that thing of like having to understand that not everyone wants the same things as you.
And like also people, that like, you don't know your friends better than they know themselves.
100%.
And even I refuse to accept and believe that about my friends that I've had for a decade, but I have to. Like, I really need to. So I think that you might have to accept that there is a strong likelihood that because of the nature of this relationship, it's going to come to an end. So I think you need to like trust that, but you might have to accept that like you don't like your friend's boyfriend and this is just going to be a thing in your life. You know what I mean?
I have very different advice.
Okay.
Because they've been together, she said they've been friends for 6 years and this friendship's been happening for 2 years. So it's like they're in it. Like 2 years is a long time. My thought is this. I think that there's a couple things that need to happen. One, I think that like what I'm hearing is a lot of like you and your friends hinting like, hey, no boy, like indirect cues. And I'm also hearing like, I think that you need to be direct. I think you need to have a conversation with your friend. Hey, there's been a number of instances where we've like explicitly said we want to have like XYZ group get together and you have still invited Tom. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, I think you have to directly tell her that. Like,
well, from what I can hear, she has. Like, I think that she's been as direct as possible.
Well, no, she said, we've said like, let's just do girls this time. And she doesn't get the hint. Don't make it a hint. Make it a directive. Talia, don't invite Tom. You know what I mean?
Yes,
or
I
the
understand.
Next time she does it, hey, Talia, we had said we wanted to do all girls and you invited Tom and this has happened a few times. It's kind of frustrating.
Right. To me, it sounded like she'd already done that. But
okay, if you haven't done that yet, I think that needs to happen.
Okay.
And two, and this is this is what my instinct is. I don't know if this is good advice and I don't know if you'll agree with me. I would start being confrontational. If this guy's going to be part of the friend group, if he doesn't have his own friends, this is his friend group and he's showing up and she's bringing him around and he's being a dick, he's being pretentious, he's making comments that piss you off, call him out. Don't be passive aggressive. Passive aggressiveness sucks and is never, ever, ever effective. And in the long run will make you the villain of the story. Watch Sai's arc on Roni. It's exactly what's happening. But like, the next time he says something like pretentious, be like, Tom, fuck you. I think be confrontational in real life because either he's going to stop coming around or he's going to change his behavior. But the passive aggressiveness just makes everything uncomfortable and weird. If you have to deal with the fact that this guy is now in your friend group and a part of it, when he says something shitty, have a fight, have a conflict. Like, because conflicts lead to resolution a lot of the time. And I think that is the better thing. Like, I think that like you're kind of all wishing that he wasn't involved because you care about his girlfriend. But if he is involved, start dealing with him directly. If she wants him to be part of the friend group, he needs to play ball. So like play ball with him. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, but I think you can only play ball so much with somebody who you just don't like. And like,
Sure.
I think that a lot of her issue is she does what I do often, which is like, I look for a lot of reasons that the guy is truly damaging to my friend's peace.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, there are some valid ones, but it's more that I just don't like this guy. He's not likable to me. He annoys the shit out of me. And my friends agree, but if all of us aren't willing to be strong about it, I think that it might be a problem of you, caller, and I being people who are simpatico. We get each other. I think that you and I have the same problem of like, sometimes the cheese stands alone and you have to like be okay with like, maybe you don't agree with your friend's decisions. And I genuinely struggle because I'm a bossy, controlling person. And I really, it is out of love and out of care and wanting to see my friends happy. But I also am a little bit, I'm prideful and I have an ego. And I think that I know better than people.
Totally.
And you might be right. Like, I still think that a lot of the time when I make judgments about my friends' boyfriends, I am right. And I am the only one who's willing to say it out loud. And that gets me in trouble. They've all broken up though. I will say that. So I have always been right. But it takes sort of a very nice, like it's a very good skill to develop to be able to like just put it away. Like just deal with it. My advice is to cope. My advice is to like talk to your friends about it. And, you know, again, like be direct. Don't drop hints. Be extremely direct.
Yeah. My only hard advice that I can give with 100% confidence is do not be passive aggressive.
Yeah.
It's never good.
It's never good. But you might have to accept that like this is your friend's boyfriend. Yeah. And it sucks.
You will like, if there is one thing to learn in life, being passive aggressive will always make you the flop. You will always end up being the flop. It will always be you.
Yep.
No one has ever risen to the top by being passive aggressive. And if they have risen at all, everyone secretly hates them. The passive aggressive person, there's one day where everyone realized, damn, every time she comes around, the vibe changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It's one of the worst behaviors you can have.
I hate passive aggression.
Okay, let's play the third call.
Hi, Talia and Jake. So I'm a 25-year-old woman who has never had a boyfriend or a girlfriend before. There have been people I've been interested in, but no one that I've ever wanted to take it that far.
Mm-hmm.
So I recently met a guy. It's been great. We've been going on lots of dates, doing all the classic. He took me out to dinner. We've gone drinks. We're going to a concert together. It's been about 2 months of us hanging out. And he has not made any kind of move to ask me about being officially his girlfriend. He's talked about when we first met about looking for that. I'm just not sure how to go about finding the relationship. If you could give me some advice on that, that would be splendid. Love you guys both. Love the podcast. So real, so fun. All the best. Bye.
I'll do a Jake here. You are the prize. You don't beg people to date you. And I know that you don't feel like you're begging, but by sticking around with somebody who isn't explicitly clear that they are obsessed with you, you're begging. It's not fair. It sucks. It's not your fault. You're a human being, but you have to like heighten your vibration of self-love and self-respect. And that means he is going to say, or I don't believe in like, oh, if he doesn't say it, like he doesn't want it. No, some people, maybe he just hasn't said yet, I want to be your boyfriend. But you have to say, I want a boyfriend. Do you want to be my boyfriend? And if he says anything other than yes, then you have to leave. And that sucks, but this next guy is going to be right. You need to learn like how to heighten your self-respect and vibration. And that will be sort of, I do believe in like the, not manifestation, but the law of attraction. Yeah. Yes, like the minute you start like truly, really expecting to be loved and be fawned over, and you stop like waiting for people and chasing people who aren't sure about you, you do attract more people into your life who are sure about you.
Yeah.
Your self-love and self-respect becomes visible and it radiates off of you. So we're very similar girls, I can tell. The sooner you learn this lesson, the better. I'm not saying he doesn't want to date you, but you have to say it.
Yeah, I think that take a beat to yourself to sit down and think, what am I wanting? Like, what do I want in this definition of a relationship? Like, what are the things that are important to me? And then just go to him. Because there's a chance that he'd be like, oh yeah, I thought we were already doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he might be that way. Like, I think 2 months is kind of really the sweet spot of like, it's not crazy to me you haven't defined the relationship yet. 2 months is like that's very early, I think.
Yeah, but I think that honestly, I hate to go to like the basics of men and women. I think that when you're dating a guy who said at the beginning, I'm looking for something serious, and 2 months in, they're going on all these dates. They're not just hooking up. They're doing the date thing.
No.
2 months in, he would have given you a very clear signal, or if not said like, yeah, I think that we're exclusive. Like, they want to lock it down. When they like you, they want to lock it down immediately.
Yeah, just have the conversation and see where it goes. But I agree with Talia. If he's not into it in that way and you are wanting that, then I think you do have to immediately move on.
And I'm sure he likes you a lot because he's keeping you around. But if he tries to pull any of this like, oh, I really want to, like, I just don't know, like, I need more time. I need to focus. No.
Yeah, that's a no.
You need someone who wants to date you, period, 100%. End of story. And after 2 years, I was going to say, after 2 months of dating, they know pretty well. Yeah. And if they really like you, they'll be happy. Even if it feels early for them, they'll be happy to say, yeah, we could be exclusive. Like, that's honestly not hard. It's not a hard ask. And you don't have to be mean about it. You don't have to get angry about it. You just have to say, I want a boyfriend. Are you my boyfriend? Are you going to be my boyfriend really soon? And if they say anything other than, yep, then you have to leave.
I also just want to flag something that happened in this call that I've noticed a lot, which is the caveat at the beginning of I'm 25, but I've never had a relationship. People who have never had a relationship are kind of obsessed with that fact, I think. And I think they really get in their head about it. And they're like, oh, I've never had a relationship. So that means like I'm not qualified to know what to do in this situation.
Yeah.
It's more likely that this situation is going to continue. Like, I think you need to let that energy go too. Having been in relationships before, like, it informs your life, but also having not been in relationships informs your life. I was in a relationship for most of my 20s. I was in a relationship for 6 years. And sometimes I feel like that has like stunted me to be in a relationship because I was in the same one for so long. Like everyone thinks that they're operating from a place of lack in their own way, or can think that. Don't make that the second thing you told us about yourself. I'm 25 and I've never had a relationship. Like, I understand you think it's pertinent to this call. I don't think it's as big of a deal. And I think carrying that energy of like that pressure you're putting on yourself of I've never had a boyfriend, I've never had a girlfriend, that is similarly like creating this law of attraction thing. So what? You haven't had a partner yet. I don't think that's that big of a deal.
It's not a big deal whatsoever. I've never had a very serious partner. I'm 25. So
yeah, I think it's fine.
There you go. It's called being picky and it's called having very high standards. Congratulations, girl.
Congratulations. Okay, this was Basic Training.
Please call 929-269-4960. We love you.
We love you. And rate and review like I yelled at you to do at the beginning of this podcast.
Amen.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.